Peep peep, what's up ninjas? My name is Semworld and today I'm going to be teaching you how to get the sound of tropical pop. Now, I did make a small sound bank and sample pack for you guys. If you guys want to download it, the link is in the description below because we're going to be using that for today's tutorial and making the main idea of a tropical pop song. So if you guys are ready, let's begin. Now, the first thing I always advise people whenever they ask me how to make tropical pop is making chords. So we're going to utilize a grand piano from Ableton in order to do this. Now, what we're going to be doing is just inputting some chords here, a 4-bar chord to make things simple for us. Now, a lot of you guys might not know music theory, and that's okay. It's because we're going to be doing this with one of the easiest scales there is, and that's going to be the A minor scale. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is it the easiest scale, Semworld? And the reason for that is because it's going to be all the white keys. You just start on the A. So it's very similar to the C minor scale. So what we're going to do with A is start the chord there. So again, we're going to make our chords here. Now, if you don't know how to make chords, just count up 1, 2, 3. You want to count the white notes only if you're in the A minor scale. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's going to make our chord. As you guys see there, it's kind of cheating. Now, I'm going to go to F. Now, the reason I go to F is because if you notice when I put the F major chord, A is part of it. So that means it's going to sound good. It's going to work. And this is called lead chording, something like that. But, you know, it works a lot and it's kind of cheating in a way because if I want to, I can just be like, all right, then I'm going to go to D. And then I'm going to go back to F. And here I'm having trouble with this shit right here. Come on. Whoa. All right, there we go. So now we can go back to F there, as you guys see. And then we have this. So do you think it's going to sound good, guys? Vote now. It probably is, though. As you guys saw, it sounds good harmonically. It sounds like it's in key. So now we know that works. So let's move it down. And that's going to be our chord progression for this song. Step number 2, guys, is to get the right sounds for tropical pop. And this is when I say the track is almost done. Why? Because once we have the chords, the main idea is done. We're just going to have to make a melody, which I'm going to show you guys how to do. Now, let's get the sounds right. The first thing I want is a kick. Now, I've made 5 kicks for you guys that are in the sound of tropical pop. Tropical pop kicks tend to be very small, not very big. Keep that in mind because I see that's a big mistake a lot of people make. So once we have this, we'll just do a 4 on the 4, which we want. Also, we want to make sure our BPM is set to 105 BPM. This is going to be the sound of tropical pop. Between 95 to 105 is usually where you're going to see a lot of it, and sometimes it does go up to 115. Now, every BPM is going to give you something different. 105 is going to give you a faster rhythm, while 95 might give you a slower rhythm, but it's going to have a little bit more swing to it depending on how you do it. So here we have the kick. Please don't use big kicks because it's going to ruin the track. Now, the next thing we have are the claps. So I'm going to pick some claps, and again, in the style of tropical pop. And I'm going to go with these that have sort of a swing to them added already. So we're going to go there. Now, if you ever wondered how to make claps, pretty much, you know, you can do this via synthesis and using Foley samples. So we're going to do that here. And now we have the sound of tropical pop there. Now we can add a top loop if we want. We got to pick the right loop. It's which one I feel the most. So I think I like this one. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to put the chords on the drop. And the way we're going to do this is put them here. Now, we're going to duplicate this channel so we can add a silent one. Now, along with the free pack that you guys are going to get, you're going to get pretty much 15 silent one presets. And I'll make sure to save it into a bank so you guys don't have to load them this way. Since I'm going to load them in, and don't worry, I'll have it saved as a bank for you guys. And now I'm going to pick a sound that I really like. So let's see. I really like this one. It has the vibe pretty well. So now once we have this. So now what we're going to do is give it rhythm. And this is where you can start making this your own because you're not going to have the same rhythm as me. So if you notice, it's kind of messed up here. So let's make sure this is a 4, a 3 here. Now we can kind of lay it out. This is usually what we want to do. Now let's start giving it some rhythm here. And so we're going to be giving this rhythm, and again, we're just building this up. And then we can keep going with this. Now, if you notice, it's a very simple rhythm, but that's what you want. And music shouldn't be complicated, guys. Just because someone makes better complicated music than you doesn't mean that they're making better music. It just requires a lot more work to make. And tropical pop is one of those genres where you can get really creative because you don't have to worry about, you know, just crazy sound design. And even then, if you have dubstep and you use presets, it's kind of easier if you think about it. What we're gonna do is duplicate the chords. We're gonna pick one of the bass presets, and this is gonna allow us to get, let's say, Jack U here. And all we have to do is just delete the upper level ones. So pretty much we have the bass now. And this is why I say once you have the chords, 80% of the track is done, because literally, if you notice, all I'm doing is the rhythm and then just adding the right sound. So once you have that, let's check it out now. So now what I'm going to do, the bass MIDI is just elongate it a bit more. And once we have that, now in order to make a good vocal lead, we need a good vocal. So what I'm going to be doing is using the Nina Song vocal pack, because I know those are pretty well done there, and I'm gonna get one of the vocals. Now, it's very experimental here. You know, there is no right or wrong here, but there are a few rules that you must keep into consideration when you're making your vocal lead. The first one is you want to grab a spot of the vocal where it's sustained and you can tell what key it's in. Because if you can't tell what key it's in, how are you going to know if you're in key? It's because it's going to sound bad. Now, once you have that, don't be afraid to experiment as well, because it depends on the vocal. Some of them are going to let you sustain them all the way through, while others may just be good as kind of vocal plucks, while other ones might be good at just holding all the way through, because they'll do like something like wah, 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 you know. So it all depends. So what we're gonna do is find a spot that has a very good key that tuner can pick up.
It's funny how things have come to be.
So you can see this, all this section is in C. So I'm gonna be looking in this section, makes our life a lot easier there, and we're gonna have.
It's funny how.
So as you can see there.
It's funny how.
So how here, this is the spot.
Yeah.
It's in C for sure. So I can use this.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is grab that, Control J that, and now we're in the key of C. So now we're going to go into the sampler and drop this in there. Once we have it in the sampler, you set the root key here. So if this was an A, you would put this into A. So the root key needs to be correct, or else you're going to be off key. So once we have that, now we're going to have this sound. Now in sampler, there's a couple of cool features that I want you guys to know in order to sound like the big guys like Cheat Codes, DJ Snake, and all that. The first one is sustain mode. We have two arrows going forward. That means that sustain mode is going to be when it hits the end of the loop, it's going to come back to the beginning. I don't like this one that much because it sounds very unoriginal. It sounds very messy, let's just say. Now the other one is my favorite one, and that's going to be the reverse. When it hits the end, it's going to reverse into itself, which sounds a lot smoother, as you guys can see there. Now you can also change what area loops by just moving this along. So remember, the top arrows is the loop region and the bottom arrows are going to be the starting region. So you can start over here or here and still have the loop somewhere else, just so you guys know there. So we're going to go with this one. Now here is where it gets really fun. We're going to apply a pitch envelope and go negative. Now this is going to slow down the acapella really fast, but it's going to create this cool effect to it, as you can see there. So let's not make it that apparent. Let's go down and lower decay. There we go. Now the other thing we're going to do is add a bit of spread to make it a bit stereo, and also a glide. Once you have the right time set in, now it's time to go into our filter, and this is where you can add a shaper, which has been done a lot in pop music. We can add a hard. Let's lower the volume down. Now also the 4-bit one is amazing because it really reduces the bit rate on the sound and makes it sound a lot cooler. Now there's a couple of melody tricks we can do. The first one is obviously the pitch glide, which is going to be, which you guys know you hear a lot in pop music, or you can do the standard pluck vocal lead. So let's try both. We'll try one right now. So there you go. We have various ways of doing it. Now, the thing about music, guys, is that it does have a formula to it, but the way that you make it your own is when you start making different types of melodies, you decide to use different sounds and make it yours. So now let's put in our favorite melody, which is going to be the glide one, and we're going to continue the tutorial now to the mixing portion. Alright guys, so once we have the melody, it's time to go into the mixing portion. Now, I did add a bit of white noise, which is just going to sound like this. And now we can go into the mixing portion of this, which is going to be fairly easy. Now, the first thing we're going to do is add some sidechain. Now, we're going to be using LFO tool for this. And LFO tool is really going to help us in getting the right sidechain for this. We want to look at the kick. Now, the LFO tool here is showing us pretty much a representation of one bar, which is going to be this bar here. Now, if you notice, the kick ends by here, so that means that our sidechain shouldn't pass this line here. Now, we can go down on this for the chords a bit, and now we're going to have this. So once we have our sidechain there to the chords, we're going to add an EQ, which, you know, to get rid of the lows we're not really using so it doesn't interfere with the bass. We're also going to make our chords be a little bit more wide by using an S1 imager. The S1 is going to be found here, and it's pretty much going to be from waves, and we're going to add that before the LFO tool. Now, once we have this in, and it's going to take a while to load there, we're going to make it wide. And there we have that sound done. Now we're going to go to the bass. We're going to copy the same LFO tool over, and it's just going to be a bit different in the sense that you're going to reduce a bit low here, and you're also going to make it sidechain before it hits the end here by just moving in that a tad bit there. So now we have this. Now we're going to go to the lead, and it's going to get the same sidechain as the chords. However, it's not going to get sidechain as much because it is the center of attention. So we're going to move a little bit more up. And once we have that, it's going to sound like this. Now we're going to EQ the lead so that we pretty much get rid of the lows it's not using. And we're also going to go into the chords and just give it a little bit more reverb to it. But one last adjustment I'm going to make is I am going to reduce the spread on the vocal lead, as I want it to be more in the center of the mix, the chords wide. Now I'm going to start adding layers to my chords to finalize all of this, and I'm just going to pick one more that can go with the chords. And once we have that, lower volume. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of OTT to the vocal lead to kind of make it pop out a bit more. This is going to be really useful as it's going to let it just breathe really well. And we're going to lower it down to around 30%. I'm also going to add a saturator to bring out more harmonic, frequencies. Let's get rid of some of the highs that are a little bit too raspy there. So once we have that, now we're going to level everything properly. So the kick is going to go to -6. Clap as well a little bit below that, and also the top loops. Now we're going to lower the chord sounds a bit. Now let's lower the sample lead, the vocal lead. White noise a little bit less, and a bit of reverb. Now, the chords can be replaced with a piano, and if that's what you want, just replace them with piano and make sure that they sound really powerful. So once we have that idea done, all we're gonna have to do now is just go into the master and apply your favorite master. So what I'm gonna do for the master is just a very standard one, which is gonna be a glue compressor and a limiter. And we're gonna add 2 limiters again because the Ableton one sucks in the sense that it distorts too easily. So now we're gonna just use the limiter here, the glue compressor as sort of like a master compressor. Lower the release to 0.2. Now the attack usually goes around 0.3, 0.5. Since we don't have a 0.5, the best we can do is a 0.3. We're gonna pull back on the threshold, which is gonna compress everything, make it sound a little bit more unified. Gonna put soft clip on. So the sample lead right now sounds very, very loud. So we're going to lower it down a bit more. We're going to increase the bass. Now the bass does go very low, and I'm kind of contemplating whether to bring this up, and it's okay to do it if you feel it's necessary. And let's see how this sounds like. And it sounds way better, so that's what we're gonna leave it at. Now it's okay to have it up an octave more. It's still gonna work properly. Just make sure that if you do this, it doesn't make your bass sound a little bit bad. Now let's just go into the limiters and bring this up. Alright guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. As you guys saw, very simple way of making music. Making music should not be complicated where you have like 20 plugins running. It should be a simple process, and as long as you make room for everything in the mix and use the right sounds, music will always have your back. I hope this video inspires you guys to make music. As you guys can see, it's very simple. And as always guys, if you guys want to support me, you can go to evilsounds.com, purchase a sound bank that goes towards helping the channel grow. As you guys can see, I got new lighting and the video does look a lot better. Also, I have a Patreon if you guys want to be patrons in exchange for some cool perks like patron apprentices. You know, I teach you guys one-on-one and all that cool stuff. Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have an amazing day.